This morning I have a couple of readings, short readings for the theme. And I'll just read them. We passed them out via email. Maybe most of you have already read them. But the first one I want to read is about Socrates, who believed that a wise person would instinctively lead a frugal life. And he himself did not wear shoes, but he constantly fell under the spell of the marketplace and would go there often to look at the wares on display. And one of his friends asked why. He said, I love to go there and discover how many things I'm perfectly happy without. It kind of reminds me of the story of the Buddha when he was asked what he gained from all of his years of meditation and from his awakening experience and his realization. He said he didn't gain anything, but he let go of a lot of things. And that's one side of it. You know, like Socrates said, there's all these things that he's perfectly happy without, that people seem to think that they need. But that's on the material side, then also we have to look at on the emotional side too, what it is that we're perfectly happy without. And then the other was a letter written in the 16th century by Fra Angelico to a friend, and he was a Catholic monk and also a painter. And he said, I salute you, I am your friend, and my love for you goes deep. There is nothing I can give you which you have not already, but there is much, very much, which though I cannot give it, you can take. No heaven can come to us unless our hearts find rest in today. Take heaven. No peace lies in the future, which is not hidden in this precious little instant. Take peace. The gloom of the world is but a shadow. Behind it, yet within our reach is joy. There is radiance and courage in the darkness, could we but see. And to see, we have only to look. Life is so generous a giver, but we, judging its gifts by their coverings, cast them away as ugly or heavy or hard. Remove the coverings and you will find beneath it a living splendor, woven of love and wisdom and power. Welcome it, greet it, and you touch the angel's hand that brings it. Everything we call a trial, a sorrow, a duty, believe me, that's angel's hand is there. The gift is there, and at the wonder of an overshadowing presence. Our joys, too, be not content with them as joys. They, too, conceal diviner gifts. Life is so full of meaning and purpose, so full of beauty beneath its covering, that you will find earth but cloaks your heaven. Courage, then, to claim it. That is all. But courage you have in the knowledge that we are pilgrims wending through unknown country our way home. And so at this time I greet you, not quite as the world sends greetings, but with profound esteem now and forever. the day breaks and the shadows flee away. Yeah, I don't know the purpose of the letter. I just found it on the internet and I thought it was lovely, but perhaps a person was in mourning or discouraged, in grief. But there's all kinds of hidden significance in everything in our life, like he says, beneath everything. And even our joy, not to just be content with that, there's something deeper there. Well, this week, we had the inauguration and I watched most of it on the Capitol steps, but then I got pulled away. I didn't watch all the rest of it, but it was really, on the surface, quite joyful to watch, watching the change of the guard, particularly since, from my perspective and in my opinion, the last 4 years have been kind of heavy and dark. And then maybe some of you saw the young woman, Amanda Gorman, recite her poem. How many of you saw that? Yeah, well, about 2 or 3 of it, but it's on the internet. It's worth reading because it has a lot of imagery and words that will resonate with meditators and Zen Buddhists. And the last 3 lines of her poem, I just want to read them because actually I put together what we're going to talk about today before the inauguration and before hearing her poem, but that resonates with what I just read. It says, the last 3 lines of her poem says, "For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it." In Zen, we talk about, seeing clearly. That's the first step in our Zen practice, is to see clearly. But then if you don't embody it, it's not very worthwhile. In a certain sense, it's powerless. But she said, you not only need to see it, but you need to be it, which is the same thing that we emphasize in our practice. And, I was just amazed at she's 22 or 23 years old, and people say that she's young. But when I was 22 years old, I knew everything. I don't know about you, but actually I was in graduate school getting a PhD in physics when I was 22 years old. But she looks so young, but at the same time, her words resonate. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Sometimes we've chanted affirming faith and heart mind. And there's a line in there, it's one of my favorites that I quote over and over and over again and talk about over and over again. It's don't seek for the truth, just cease to cherish your opinions. So what that has always meant to me is that the truth is always there, but we obscure it with our opinions, our judgments, our projections, our ideas, and our deluded thoughts. And of course, the imagery is that the clouds obscure the sun. And do we just need to allow the clouds to disperse? Those are our cherished opinions. If we let go of them, then the sun, which has always been shining, will reveal itself. Like Amanda Gorman said, there is always light. When I first started practicing Zazen, I was living in London, uh, and in the first few years I was practicing, I sat with Sochu Suzuki Roshi, who was visiting London from his monastery in Japan and stayed there for about almost a year, I think. I studied with him. And those of you who have spent any time in London know that it's a pretty gloomy place. Um, I think the sun, you see the sun maybe 4 weeks out of the year, 2 weeks in the spring and 2 weeks in the fall. But the winter, just constant gloom and clouds and overcast and drizzle. And Sochu Roshi's English was very poor. And I remember we were sitting with him in a makeshift zendo one morning, and he said something like, "Sun is shining. The sun is shining," and it was a typical gloomy day, And I was sitting next to him, and I said, "Where?" And he leaned over and he punched me right in the belly, and he said, "There." So if we have the courage, to look, it's always there. But what do we cover it over with? And so that's kind of the theme today. With Socrates looking at things that he doesn't need, and Fra Angelico talking about the things that are there for the taking, if we just have the courage to look and to greet them.